Hey everyone, this is Elenbaas from Nightlight Astrology. Today we're going to take a look at Mars in the sign of Sagittarius squaring Neptune in Pisces. This transit is coming through in the next couple of days. We're going to prepare for it today by talking about why, bizarrely, people talk about this transit, any Mars-Neptune transit, as either completely exhausting, defeating, weakening, or intensely inspiring. Why do those two things seem to come with this transit? What can we do to enhance our experience of it or get the most out of it? I'm going to give you some things to think about today. We'll unpack a list of 5 things to watch for, and I'll give you some tips for working with this as well. So that's our agenda for today. Before we get into it, remember to like and subscribe. We have done some research and found that a lot of people, far more people, watch this channel regularly that are not yet subscribed than are. So if you watch regularly, take a second, click the subscribe button. It helps us tremendously. We really appreciate it. We're seeing if we can't get to 100,000 subscribers on the channel by next summer. Transcripts of any of these daily talks can be found on the website, which is nightlightastrology.com. Right now, as you know, we are in the midst of our 12th annual Kickstarter campaign. You'll find the link to the Kickstarter in the description of this video or in the comment section pinned to the top. Head over there, and if this channel supports you in your day-to-day life throughout the year, if it is a place of spiritual inspiration, astrological insight, there is a ton of work that goes into producing this free content year-round. It means a lot to us if you give a small donation and support the channel in the year ahead. And when you do so, there are a ton of really cool rewards that are there for you to receive. I'll take you over to the Kickstarter briefly and show you what it looks like. When you head over there, you're going to see on the right-hand side the support, make a pledge, and then all of the available rewards. At the end of today's talk, there's a video explaining all of the rewards. So if you want to know exactly what different gifts you can pick up when you donate, I'll explain all of it. The Astrology of 2026 talk I just finished, about an hour and a half long, breaking down all of the major transits of 2026. There are some guided meditations that I've written. There's also year ahead horoscope readings that break down all of the major transits of the year ahead for your sun or rising sign. These are all exclusive through the Kickstarter. The best deal, of course, are our class passes and class bundles. You save 50 up to even 75% off classes when you bundle them, get 2, 3, or 4 class passes. So I'll explain all of that at the end of today's talk. Really appreciate your support. There is, again, a ton of love, about 3 hours every day that is spent prepping, organizing, delivering, editing, disseminating these talks year-round, 7 days a week. So again, we just ask that if you get something good out of this channel and it is a positive source of astrological and spiritual support in your life, that you consider supporting us and the whole team of people here at Nightlight that make this work possible. All right. Well, on that note, as always, let's turn our attention to the real-time clock. Partway through today's talk, I'm going to also remind you that next Thursday night, I'm giving a talk on the 11th house for my monthly webinar. I'll sort of promo that a little ways in today to break things up. So as we are sitting here on Thursday, December 11th, we can see that Mars is at about 27, well, the big arrow's out. Mars is at about 27 degrees of Sagittarius within 3 degrees. We always care when it moves to within 3 degrees of Neptune at 29 Pisces. So if we take this forward to tomorrow, we're getting into about 1.5 degrees. By Saturday, we see that they're moving to within less than 1 degree. And by Sunday, the square will have completed and the 2 planets will start to separate. And then Mars enters its exaltation in Capricorn on Monday. So this sequence of events, especially the entering of its exaltation on the flip side, where it also moves into its chariot and becomes protected from the combustion of the sun, a very important sequence of events for Mars, where you could say that Mars is turning a pretty significant corner in its synodic cycle, as well as receiving the chariot protection, while receiving that protection right after a Mars-Neptune square. What could that be about, right? That's a really peculiar turn of events that I think should catch our attention and our imaginations as astrologers. I've got a list of 5 things to watch for that I want to give you now. that really get at this strange dichotomy. On the one hand, Mars-Neptune transits are frequently associated with periods of confusion and exhaustion, but on the other hand, they are also frequently associated with great moments of inspiration. Let me try to explain why that is the case. First of all, we have Mars, the god associated with will. It's a very creative planet insofar as the planet represents desires and the actions we take on behalf of the attainment or achievement of our desires. Like, I'm hungry, so I'm going to go hunting. In, the 30,000 years ago, I'm hungry, I'm going hunting. But today too, it's like, if I want to get fit, I go to the gym and I work out. If I want to achieve something, I set out, I persevere, I work hard with determination, kind of competitive spirit, I push myself. That's all Mars. So where there is will and ambition and desire driving things forward in life, which we all need a healthy relationship to, otherwise we couldn't get out of bed in the morning, right? So I find, not surprisingly, that when Mars gets to Neptune, and I'm sure many of you are familiar with this, all of a sudden that will, that motivation, that ambition is just gone. And the reason for that is that Neptune, one of Neptune's actions is to dissolve. Neptune can take something that is solid or tangible and just kind of drain it. Neptune is like taking will or ambition and direction and motivation and covering it in fog, covering it in sleep, covering it in a sort of wet blanket of heaviness. It can be that sense of exhaustion or fatigue that Neptune brings to Mars when they're combined that make many people feel quite sapped or drained when this transit comes around. Now, on the other hand, we have this very close connection to Mars and Neptune with peak moments of inspiration. When Joan of Arc hears the voice of the angel telling her that this is her mission, it's a very Mars-Neptune-like moment. When you suddenly get a vision, an imaginative, creative vision that motivates and fills you with a new desire, that sense of imaginal and the fantasy of Neptune imprinted on Mars can also be about providing Mars with a new action, a new ambition, a new desire. And so Mars-Neptune combinations can be visionary, transcendent, and highly motivated. These are inspired states. The warrior receiving their commission or their mission from the gods. The hero, it's like the premise of many hero movies. Something happens, someone weak is in need of saving, or someone or something needs a hero, and that cause greater than oneself sets the hero in motion for the attainment of glory that can only be bestowed upon someone when their will does something on behalf of someone or something bigger, someone weak or in need of help or saving. Maybe that's even ourselves. I've seen Neptune to Mars transits come about when someone gets the motivation to go to rehab, get sober, and save themselves from the worst. So what a dichotomy. If you're feeling tired or confused right now, this might be why this archetype is sort of in the psychic air. Now, on the other hand, if you are feeling inspired or getting a new vision or an imaginal new possibility for action, setting something in motion, also very fair. Mars is a god of inceptions, which means beginnings. Mars initiates activities. This is why it rules the sign of Aries, for example, that is at the start of the solar year, but it also rules Scorpio, which is one of the most powerful points of the initiation of endings, death, and the transformation of death in the autumn season symbolically. So the initiation of change through like a spring-like energy or through death and destruction, they're powerful catalyzing forces, the Mars-ruled signs. We have Mars connecting with Neptune, which initiates new activity or can be, in a sense, connected to a destructive force that's fueled by fantasy or visions or imagination. This is why, for example, sometimes when Mars and Neptune get together, people become delusional and violent, where a terrorist, or, and I hate to even say that, but someone fueled by religious visions of grandiosity or uh, delusional fantasies can act like they think that they're a hero, or they think that they're acting on behalf of something bigger, but they're just doing something violent and delusional and deranged. Very Mars Neptune. So, because of that dichotomy, there are some ways of approaching this philosophically that I think if we look at and remind ourselves of, we're going to stay in the right place, in the right kind of awareness to work with this transit in the best way. All right, let's go through it. Number one, exhaustion of will. And I think about Taoism, but also all different kinds of ancient philosophical systems that said that our exhaustion of will, you know what? I'm just realizing there's this new feature. It is so annoying. Sorry, guys. Give me just a second. I'm going to pause. Okay, I apologize. There's this weird new setting where the banners just disappear and you have to turn it off for every single banner. It's so annoying. Anyway, so let's go into the first one. In all of these ancient philosophical systems, will and the exhaustion of will are archetypal and tied to an opposite. How do we experience mercy? How do we experience grace? How do we experience support or pardon or forgiveness, or wherever there is something that we are able to receive? It's often specifically tied to places where we fail, or we are exhausted, or we can't do something. So mercy, grace, pardon, forgiveness, compassion, miracles, blessings frequently come in at precisely the time where we say, I can't do it. I'm done. I'm exhausted. I'm fatigued. It's sort of a not my will, but thine kind of moment. Well, I've gone as far as I can go, but I'm down for the count. And it's interesting that some of the best things we can receive, again, mercy, forgiveness, compassion, patience, tolerance, blessings, they often come specifically when we give up. When we say, look, I've tried to get something, I've tried to do something, I've tried to express my will, I've tried to get what I want, I've tried to follow my ambitions, but I'm out of energy, I failed, I can't do it, I can't complete the mission, I can't complete the test. It's in specifically those moments where some greater gift of the cosmos, call it whatever you want, comes in. That is specifically a Mars-Neptune archetype. And so sometimes when we feel tired or taxed or confused or exhausted, or we feel fatigued, or we feel like we're just a failure under such a transit, that is specifically the time where you might be ready to receive something very inspiring, something that you weren't expecting, but it's so closely tied to your ability to say, I'm done. I tap out. I am exhausted. I give up. Number two, exhaustion of energy is therefore tied to surrender. How do we experience the blessings of surrender? Surrender as an act carries there's so much, like, what do I want to call it? Like creative potential that comes in when we surrender. When we surrender, we often are allowing some other creative forces or intelligence to come in and help and guide things and provide things. It's the same thing. If my willpower is exhausted and I've done as much as I can, and I just say, look, I've failed, I can't get it done, or I give up, I'm drained. Same thing is that when energy is exhausted, there is an opportunity to surrender our lives and our direction to something else. Well, that was my best shot. That was what I wanted, but I don't know. Maybe there's something else. Help me out here. See, when we get to that point of like, well, I did my best. Now I have to surrender because I'm exhausted, or I'm drained, or I'm disillusioned, or I'm not sure where I'm going. That act of surrender is fundamentally tied to something bigger starting to put wind in our sails and direct us. And it's interesting because from all appearances, it would seem that there is a kind of co-creative, co-participatory meaning making that's happening in the cosmos between all living beings, such that it's not as simple as just saying, well, I'm not an actor here. I have no agency. I have no creative participation. But it's not as simple as saying my will is the measure of all things. I will just shape and mold the world to the shape of my will. No, it doesn't. There's a conversation and a dialogue between I'm trying to direct things, and then I get to a point where my ability to do that, it just breaks down, or my faith in why I'm doing it or what I'm doing just breaks down, and I go, okay, fuck it. I'm done. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm sick of this. I don't even know if it's good. I might just suck at what I'm trying to do. When you reach those points, there's an opportunity to say, dear universe, I surrender. Church on Sundays, just give it up. And because we surrender, we get to experience a different kind of intelligence coming in and saying, great, you've made some room for me. Now we're going to look at what it might feel like to be co-creative, not just willful, but co-creative. And let me tell you, as much as I'm sure many of us already consider ourselves to be like, well, I'm trying to co-create with the universe. Yeah, but if you're like me and we're all kind of like each other, I think we get into periods of time where we're white knuckling, we're gripping the steering wheel, we come under the illusion that we're in control and we're directing everything. And it's not surprising that at some point that part of our psyches will just hit a wall, because it's simply not true. We're not in control of everything. We're not directing everything. It doesn't make us bad people, but it's part of how our awareness of the co-creative relationship with God, divinity, gods, goddesses, other beings takes place. We try to do the best we can to direct and control things on our own, because that's part of what we're here to develop and learn is, I'm a creator. How do I develop that skill, that ability? And then you hit these walls and you learn the art of surrender. And the surrender becomes essential to growing inspiration, growing intelligence, growing vision, growing creative potential. Exhaustion of faith or direction is therefore tied to vision, which means when your vision, when your ideas, or mine break down and don't work, or we can't seem to achieve them, it's a great time, like that prayer of Thomas Merton I shared, I think a week or two ago, where it's like, God, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know if my vision is the right one or not. We can have all the conviction in the world. We can have all the confidence in the world. But sometimes our confidence and sense of faith or direction will simply break down, because it's natural and healthy and okay for it to happen. It's just like the trees lose their leaves. They turn brown and all the energy goes inward. There are times where our confidence tree just needs to shed its leaves. Our faith tree, our hope tree, our optimism tree just needs to wilt. When we allow for that to happen, we don't think, gosh, there's something wrong here because I'm a faithful person. No, you're not. You're just a person. We're all just beings, right? And we cycle through seasons of faith and doubt, despair, cynicism, and tremendous hope. And when we allow that process to happen, we don't fight it, we surrender to it. That exhaustion of faith, that exhaustion of ambition, that exhaustion of direction seamlessly ties to being in receipt of a new vision. But we have to let it happen. We can't fight it. I'm not saying I don't fight it. I fight it like hell. That's why I know you're all lying if you say you don't. I'm just kidding. Okay, number 4, inspiration and motivation tied to imagination. The other thing that's so important is that during a transit like this, if you're not someone who has anything that you go to as a source of inspiration or imagination, you may find that such a transit makes it clear that you need something like that, because this transit is awful for people who are bored. When people are bored by this transit, they often become destructive. They drop into some kind of malaise or melancholy, or they say, what's the point? Or they get sort of nihilistic, or they despair and they throw their hands up and they turn in the victim card and all of it, Not saying there aren't times where we can't really feel that way, because we do, and it's terrible to feel that way. But one of the easy ways out is to have things that we find inspiring. Maybe it's reading, maybe it's art, maybe it's music, maybe it's learning something new, maybe it's a podcast, maybe it's friends, maybe it's sports. whatever it is, what turns the creative wheel? You know, it's like a water windmill. It's like the wheel turning the windmill or whatever. We have to put ourselves in something where there's movement of emotion, movement of mind, movement of spirit. Going for a walk for many people does that. Honestly, it can be very simple. But the point is that if you're not moving the currents of ideas, thoughts, feelings, and this will be a transit where you start to feel that it's funny because Mars is motion, Neptune dissolves motion. So if you fall into this malaise, get moving. Because that it's not so much that the moving cures everything as much as it is that the movement provides motion. And the motion turns things, and that's where generative ideas and visions come from psychically. Number 5, sacrifice and mission tied to heroism. Most of us need the hero archetype at work in our lives, even though you've heard me on this channel say many times that I feel like our modern world is hero obsessed and we're sort of drunk on the Kool-Aid of the hero archetype. But that being said, it is an important archetype. The feeling that you are living courageously into things, purposes, causes, legacies, things that will live on after you die, that you feel like you've contributed to. We need to feel that way as we're living. Heroism is a part of how we find purpose and how we find some sense of completion or resolution. However, don't forget that often in hero movies, at the end of the film, the hero is bloodied, mangled, there's an arm dangling off, they're barely alive, you know. And so if you're shocked that hero mythologies eventually tatter you and break you down and exhaust you, then you haven't learned the Mars-Neptune lesson about heroism yet, which is that the sacrifice of wanting to be a hero, of wanting to be successful, of wanting to be ennobled, of wanting to be a chivalrous knight who has everyone's best intentions in mind, all good things, right? But they also tend to drain you and beat you up over time. And the biggest salvation is sometimes just going back to being a normal citizen who's not Superman or Superwoman. So sacrifice and mission, though, are tied to heroism. And what that means is that sometimes for us to feel satisfied by that hero within, to feel like we're connected to it in a meaningful way, we need a mission, and we need to be sacrificing something on behalf of that mission. If there is nothing in your life that is hard to do, you're not living the hero myth, and you won't find satisfaction in it. And then when these transits come around, you will often be confronted with the feeling of boredom, failure, angst, despair, hopelessness, or a feeling that there is no purpose. This can be an incredibly nihilistic placement, Mars and Neptune. And so living for something beyond yourself, even if that means I want to live a long life so I can be around for my grandkids or my family. So I need to take care of myself. So I'm going to do some hard things because it's not easy to live a healthy lifestyle. It's challenging. But whatever it is, know that some degree of greater mission that's greater than yourself, that's not easy, that requires sacrifice, that's going to be necessary to feel the satisfaction of this archetypal combination. And if you don't find the hard work, the mission, and the sacrifice, these transits come around and they're going to make you feel like there's no point. That despair can be averted by having missions and making sacrifices. So at the same time, remember, if you're going nuts with the hero archetype, these transits will come around and it'll be like the limb is dangling off and you're like, why does this suck so much? Well, because you're drunk on the hero, and these transits can actually help you let go of that a little bit if you need to as well. All right, I have 3 reminders for growth. Although this talk has already been filled with, I think, a lot of good philosophical reflection, these are some things that I have learned along the way. I was born with Mars opposite Neptune. Number 1, trust that recovery is important as effort. There are phases in life where working, building, developing, sacrificing, pushing is necessary. But just as necessary for the success of your ambitions are the periods of time where you rest, recover, and do nothing goal-oriented. You have to trust that those periods are exactly the same amount of importance for the success of the goal as the actual effort in pushing. If you don't think that way, the sense of collapse and fatigue will eventually come and will be disheartening and may hijack your faith and your optimism and can make you cynical and bitter. So remember, trust that recovery is as important as effort. Number two, trust saying that I didn't know that is a superpower. I remember when I was younger, there was a specific phase of life where maybe like 16, 17 through like 22 years old, if someone said something like, hey, did you know this? I would always be like, oh yeah. Because I was scared that if I admitted that I didn't know something that they were talking about, that it would make me look foolish. And I didn't do that all the time, but it was like a pattern. Then I went through ayahuasca ceremonies, and it was amazing. Like after, I don't know, a couple of ceremonies or a couple of trips to Peru, whenever it was, sometime early in the process of drinking ayahuasca, I remember people, that same situation would come up, and I just found myself going, no, I didn't know that. Tell me more. And it might seem like such a simple thing, but it was a huge shift for me to say, oh, I didn't know that. No, say more. I want to, there are two things that happen right away that you're instantly banking when you admit you didn't know something, or you admit you couldn't do something, or you admit failure or weakness, and you just admit it. One, you're building a deeper kind of strength. That deeper kind of strength is the confidence to not have to know everything, to not have to be on top of everything, to have weaknesses, to have blind spots, to be someone who's a work in progress. The confidence that you have to say, I didn't know that, or I can't do that, or that I can't go that far, that's my limit, or whatever. The ability you have to say that, every time you do that, it builds a deeper kind of strength than most of us can even imagine. It's a strength that's growing out of humility, that's growing out of not feeling like there's anything wrong with being exactly where we are, and still being okay with the potential to grow and get better at stuff. That's a superpower. If you can do that, you're starting to develop a strength really deep inside. The other thing that it does very practically is whatever is immediately in front of you that you didn't know about, you're going to get to know about. Because if I would say to these people, like prior to my ayahuasca experiences, oh yeah, well, then I would miss the part where they could be like, well, let me tell you about it. And then I'd actually learn about something. Instead, I'd be hiding and staying ignorant. So the other very practical benefit is that when something comes up and you don't know about it, or you don't know enough, or whatever, you admit it, then you get to learn more about it. And now you've developed the strength and confidence rooted in humility, which is awesome. And then simultaneously, you get to learn about whatever practical shit's right in front of you. You know, that's epic. So the reason that I say this with Mars-Neptune is that with Mars-Neptune in particular, there are illusions of strength that we try to sell to other people or to ourselves. And it's a much greater strength, rather than selling an illusion, to be strong and confident in exactly where you are, you know? So remember that. Number three, it's a really good one for me. And I will tell you, by the way, when that occurred for me, Pluto was going over my Mars-Neptune opposition, and I was learning to just admit what I didn't know. Asking and waiting are creative activities. Look, when we feel fatigued or exhausted, or we're not sure where to go in life, there's uncertainties, or there's just a sense that maybe I'm not very good at something, or we don't have a sense of creative direction or purpose, we can think that there's something, I don't know, like, oh, I should sit down and create a vision board and will and intend the next step. And while I have no problem with that, there's also this other thing, thousands of years old, called asking for direction. Asking higher intelligences for direction, and not pretending that we can will everything into existence. So even though it seems like asking and waiting are sort of weak or passive, or, you know, it's like, well, I'm not going to just wait for some higher power to tell me what to do. But this, you have guides. You have a daimon, according to the ancient astrologers, like a soul guide that lives with you, that is there to provide meaning and guidance and higher intelligence on behalf of your authentic nature. All you have to do is ask, right? And I forget this all the time. This is why I have an altar practice. This is why we have silent Sundays. You got to sit down, you got to ask, and you got to trust that asking and waiting for direction are not empty activities. They're not passive or weak activities. They are fundamental to what makes us strong. What makes us strong is our ability to have relationship with stronger forms of intelligence than our own. It's the same exact lesson where it was, part of saying, no, I don't know that. Now I get to learn something new. And it's okay that I'm where I'm at. Now I'm becoming stronger because of it. When we don't know, one of the best, and I'm not against vision boards, by the way, but there's so many vision boards. My God, asking and waiting are creative. It's sit down and with your altar, or like, I'll just sit on my couch and I'll be like, I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. What's the vision? What's the creative direction? And trusting that that is actually a very powerful creative activity that I sit, I ask, I petition, and then I wait to receive. And when I do that, what I'm doing is I'm strengthening, paradoxically, I'm strengthening a relationship with higher, stronger forms of spiritual intelligence that are my patrons, that are here to help me, right? Why do we resist that so much, thinking it's weak unless it comes directly from me and my, Now, I'm not saying there can't be a very inspired way of creating it. Maybe you create a vision board through that process, right? It's not about vision boards per se, as much as I'm just kind of poking at the tendency we have to try to be controllers and all-powerful sovereign creators and all of this. What's really special for most indigenous traditions all around the planet, most sacred traditions from all around the planet, is not how powerful you are, but how powerful the allies are that you develop that empower you because of your relationship and desire to serve them. These are the gods and goddesses. These are the spirits of the rain and the rivers and the mountains, powerful natural features of the earth that we develop relationships with. What does it mean to become a servant of the mountain, right? That's a real question in many traditions around our planet. How do I serve the mountain? And then the mountain empowers me. You see what I mean? So these reciprocal relationships with higher powers are such a part of the Mars-Neptune dynamic. And if you put some energy into that relationship and say, hey, guide me, direct me, empower me, and then wait for it to come, wait for the vision to occur, that's real strength. It's a different definition of strength at any rate. So that's it for today. It feels like a little sermon from the stars, like a little Mars-Neptune preachy. get my groove on. Hilda's like, all right. What do you think, Hilda? Do you want to come say hi to everybody? Come here. She's like, I'm not coming anywhere. I'm just going to rest here. All right. Anyway, after I sign off, there's a video telling you about all the rewards that you can choose from when you donate. So donate, choose a reward, learn about all of that next. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. To everyone who's already pitched in. We'll see you again tomorrow. Bye, everyone. Hey, everyone. Thanks for sticking around. I'm going to tell you about the different rewards that are available when you donate and support this year's Kickstarter. Remember, our goal is to get to 2,043 backers by New Year's Eve, and your contribution makes a huge difference. But when you do contribute, there are a variety of really cool gifts that we offer only once a year through the Kickstarter campaign. So I'm going to take you over to the Kickstarter and tell you about what those are. You can also find more information about almost all of the rewards on our website, nightlightastrology.com. Any of the programs that you might want to take, all of the details about those programs, their start dates are all located on the website in case that's a question. But at the top, you'll notice on the right-hand side, when you're scrolling down on the Kickstarter, you're going to see the different rewards that are available at different pledge levels. The basic pledge level is the Astrology of 2026 calendar. This is a really nice PDF calendar that we make that gives you a feel for what transits I'm going to be covering on the channel as the year goes on. It's also really nice to know what the transits of the year are day by day. So if that appeals to you, it's the most basic level of pledge, and you can get that. Scrolling down, you can also bundle any of these. So if you want multiple rewards, you can bundle them upon checkout. You'll see how that works when you're in there pledging. Scroll down a little bit. There's a new talk that I've made. This is a brief talk on the value of silence and having a silent or meditative practice in your life, how you might get one started. And again, just what I see as the value of that for astrologers. Scroll down a little bit more, you'll see the Astrology of 2026 audio and video. This is an exclusive lecture where I break down all of the major transits and astrological signatures for the year ahead. I'm not releasing this anywhere else, so if you want my insights for the entirety of 2026, this is a great reward to pick up. Scroll down a little bit more and you'll see that I have a guided meditation that I've created for your year ahead. This is more about spiritually, psychologically, emotionally focusing yourself for the year ahead. It's a special kind of guided meditation and visualization that I've created. So if that sounds appealing, you could pick that up. It's called The Oracle Within, a guided meditation. Scroll down a little bit more and you'll see that my new book, which I plan on starting at the latest by the summer of 2026, you can get in on that chapter by chapter first draft release in audio and text form, just like The Oracle Speaks, my first book that I just finished. This is a new book that I'm starting in 2026. So if you wanted to hop in on the early release for that, you could do that there. Scroll down a little bit more and the description of that book and what it's all about is right there for you to check out. Year ahead horoscope readings. If you want to receive about 6 hours worth of content going through horoscopes for 2026 for all 12 rising signs, this is a great offering that's going to give you, again, about 6 hours worth of horoscopes for all 12 signs for the year ahead. I'm not releasing anywhere else, so check that out. Then you'll notice as you scroll down a variety of different archived masterclasses from previous years. There's one on the lunar nodes in ancient astrology. That's about 10 hours worth of content. The Magic and Mystery of the Fixed Stars, again, about 10 hours of content. Zen and the Art of Zodiacal Releasing, and The Alchemy of the Outer Planets. These are all lengthy master classes that I taught in previous years, about 10 hours of content per package. So a really great deal on some advanced content there. If you are brand spanking new to astrology, check out Astrology for Complete Beginners. This is a course that we have. It's about 10 to 12 hours worth of content that's meant for people who are brand new to astrology. This is like astrology level 0. So, but if that's you or someone you know who might benefit from just like a basic introduction to astrology, check out that audio video course. You get a website where it takes you through everything. You can watch it at your own pace and time. It's all recorded. The next offering is Ask 3 Horary Questions. You purchase this one and you get the ability to write to me anytime throughout 2026, 3 separate occasions to ask 3 separate horary questions, and I respond to those via email. That's a really great service. That saves you significantly off the course of horaries because you're bundling 3 together. So a really nice gift to use for yourself. Ask a couple of questions to me through horary form throughout the year. Scroll down and you'll see that I have only 30 of these. These are year ahead mini readings, very exclusive because I don't give readings anymore. I have students and staff taking clients through a special reading service. So my readings are very limited to classroom spaces, but I have 30 of these exclusive mini readings where I give you my take on your biggest transit for the year ahead in your birth chart. Those are personally recorded and sent to you. Then you'll see the 2025 Masterclass bundle, the 2024, and the 2023. These are, like upwards of 30 hours of content that are going to give you really deep exploration of a variety of topics. So those masterclass bundles are taking multiple series from previous years and bundling them together in one package. And you can see all the topics listed there through the 2025 bundle, the 2024 bundle, or the 2023 bundle. A really great way to package together a lot of intermediate to advanced level content that I've taught in the past. Then if you go down, the new 2026 masterclass series that I'm teaching is on the decans. So if you're interested in learning more about the decans and the upcoming 2026 masterclass, check this out. It's on sale right now through the Kickstarter. Won't be this cheap again. So a really good way to save on joining that program in 2026. If you have any questions about that program, you can find more information on the website through the page that's dedicated to the masterclass. Scroll down and you'll see we also have a new Nightlight Guild membership. This is ideal for people who are already enrolled in Nightlight or in the kind of Nightlight pipeline as students and are looking for more practice, more study at an intermediate to advanced level. We're meeting twice a month and doing live client readings, live horary workshops, a lot of practice with advanced concepts and techniques. So this is ideal for people who are really looking to continue developing within the Nightlight sphere. And so students in Nightlight, check this out, come study with us. This also includes every monthly webinar that I teach on the year, plus twice monthly meetings that are 2 hours each for advanced practice. So really nice to have a guild membership. This is something I've been wanting to develop for a while. Check that out. Scroll down, you'll see both of my wife's herbal apprenticeships, year 1 and year 2. If you like Ashley and her work, her YouTube channel, we own the same LLC. So we just thought we'd throw in her herbal apprenticeships at a discounted rate if you want to join those. And then really our most popular item are the class passes. So you'll see at the very bottom, you can attend 1 Nightlight course, 2 in a bundle, 3 in a bundle, or 4 in a bundle. And what that allows you to do at a really significantly discounted rate. This is our best sale of the year. We only do it through the Kickstarter. In those class passes, you can bundle and take year 1, year 2, year 3 in Hellenistic natal astrology. You can take the horary class, or you can take any yearly master class. And those class passes are going to allow you to then bundle together our programs and go through as many as you want. You could bundle 2 of them together, 3 or 4, or just 1. And it's going to be the best sale that we have on our courses for the year. So those are the different rewards we offer. If you have any questions about any of them, feel free to email us, info@nightlightastrology.com. We deeply appreciate your support, and I hope that in exchange for donating and supporting this free content year round, that you will also find a valuable reward in one of these offerings. Remember that your donation supports a staff of people, myself, my family, the free production of all of this content year round. We deeply, deeply appreciate your contribution. All right. Hope you're having a great day. See you later. Bye.